Guys, it's Mrs. Hantula, and I just wanted to make a quick video to review some just quick adding and subtracting fractions fundamentals. So we'll start with number one, where we have 2/3 plus 5/8. So in order to add these fractions, you want to go ahead and get common denominators. And the least common denominator for 3 and 8 is 24. So we're going to go ahead and multiply the first fraction by 8/8. And the second fraction by 3/3. Remember, we can do this because 8/8 and 3/3 both equal 1. And so that gives us 16/24 plus 15/24. And when we add or subtract fractions and we get our common denominators, the denominator stays the same, and we just add the numerators. So we end up getting 16 plus 15, which is 31. And we can go ahead and leave it as an improper fraction and call it a day. Number two is the exact same fractions, but we're going to go ahead and subtract. So we already know our common denominator is 24. And so we will do the same thing. We'll multiply the first fraction by 8/8 to get 16/24. And the second fraction by 3/3 to get 15/24. Once again, when we subtract, the denominator stays the same, and we just subtract the numerators, and we get 1/24. Okay, moving on to 3 and 4, now we're going to add in some variables. For number 3, we have monomial denominators, and remember what that means is we have no pluses or minuses in between any of the variables or numbers or anything like that. And so what we want to do is we want to figure out with x squared y and xy cubed what the least common denominator is. And the least common denominator is going to end up being, in this case, each variable in the bigger exponent. So in this case, it's going to be x squared y cubed, okay? And so we're going to go ahead and figure out in the first fraction, we need to multiply by just y squared because it's already got the x squared and it's already got one of the y's. So we're going to multiply 2 by y squared. In the second fraction, we're going to multiply by, we're missing an x, and that's it. So we're going to multiply by just x. And so one option is to write it how I wrote it, where you just have one big denominator, and then you simplify the numerator. You could also have them separate and then combine them afterwards. So we end up getting 2y squared plus x, and then over x squared y cubed. And those are not like terms in the numerator, so we can't do anything else, and so that is our final answer. If we do have like terms, we would go ahead and add them together. Okay, last one here, number 4. You'll see that with number 4, we end up with binomials in the denominators instead of monomials. And so the least common denominator of x minus 3 and x minus 5 is just going to be the product of those two binomials. So I'm going to make a fraction where I have x minus 3 and x plus 5 multiplied together. And so in the first fraction, we're missing x plus 5, so we're going to multiply 4 times x plus 5. In the second fraction, we're missing x minus 3. And we're going to go ahead and distribute in the numerator, so that gives us 4x plus 20 plus 2x minus 6. And then our denominator is going to stay in factored form. Don't FOIL it, there's no need to. And then we can go ahead and combine our like terms. So we have 6x, 4x plus 2x is 6x. And then 20 minus 6 is 14 over x minus 3 times x plus 5. And that would be our answer. Some of you might want to factor out the LC or the GCF of 2 in the numerator. And that would leave us with 3x plus 7. That would only be helpful if one of our denominators, binomials, was the same as what we end up getting in the numerator. And so it's not, so we'll just leave it like that. So hopefully that's a really quick review of some factoring fundamentals.